Hey guys, and here we are back with another one, and today with the Mecool VS3399, also known as Video Strong. And starting with a very quick unboxing experience, we will find the common accessories that comes for this type of device, with the exception which is this was actually the first box that I had to assemble myself. Now we will have the board and the case parts and all the screws to assemble, and just out of curiosity I didn't find any manual, any instructions online, but just looking at the picture on the front cover of the manual, it was fairly simple to put it together. And just out of curiosity, first we will need to attach the smaller screws to the bottom cover so that we can attach the main board, which by the way we will fit both ways. Once we have the board in place, we can then use the longer screws to secure it, and after that we will need to attach the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth antenna connectors. Just be careful here so that we don't damage anything, and then attach the top connectors to the top level of the case and secure them in place, and that's about it. Lastly, just screw both antennas and the box will be ready to be used. Now moving on to the ports, I will show you guys with more detail on screen, and as you can see it will have the most common ports for this kind of device: the USB 2.0 ports, the Ethernet, it has a USB 3.0 which is nice to see, USB Type-C, and the HDMI. Now on the other side I will also show you an image so that you can take a better look. But one thing I would like to point out that I didn't find any sense to it, which is it has the power input jack at the front of the case instead of being at the back. And it's not only the power plug, it also has the optical out and the 3.5mm jack headphone on the front. So imagining that we will connect at least the HDMI cable at the back for the TV and the power plug at the front, it will be, at the end of the day, and even if we use the optical outs, at the end of the day this will be a kind of a messy box, and honestly I wouldn't know how to put it near a TV. I would have to find a way to hide it completely so that the cables would be all hidden, but that would miss the point of having one case transparent, which is one of the things that I actually really like on this box. And moving to that part, in terms of design and build quality, I see nothing wrong with it. Only I would add probably a small rubber feet right over here to put it in any surface without slipping, but that's about it. Now in terms of design, it looks really great. The only downside that I think of is that whoever designed this board did not pay attention how it would look at the end of the day near a TV, having cables in one side and cables in the other side. So this is something that you guys will have to look for when judging this device to purchase it. Now moving to the specifications, it's running the Rockchip 3399, 4GB of RAM and 32GB of flash storage, running on Android 7.1.2. Now moving to the launcher, as you guys can see, it comes really clean installation, one of the most clean installations that I found. It's not the only one, but one of the most clean installations. It reminds me the Kadej Vim box that we have seen a few weeks ago, both on look and also on terms of installation. Of course, the Kadej Vim box has other features that this one doesn't, but you will find it on my channel. You can check it out and see the main difference and so on and so forth. Now moving to the launcher, just a few seconds there. As you can see, pretty simple, but we can always install our launcher of choice and customize it the way that we want. Now one of my concerns at this point was the bottom bar that didn't disappear. At least I didn't have the option to hide it, so I did launch Netflix and similar apps just to check out if it would hide by itself, and it does in most case scenario, so that was not an issue anymore. Now moving on to the benchmark so that you guys can compare with other devices that we have seen here on the channel. Guys, I will put everything on screen and we will find the usual tests. I did first try out the resolution, getting a maximum 4K 30 Hz, and you can have a look at the DRM, which has L3, CPU Z, it's rooted, disk speed, quite a decent speeds in terms of storage. Then on the network I was a bit disappointed. As you can see, the values are not nothing special. And then Geekbench, Antutu and 3D Mark, the usual for this kind of SOC, so no surprises right over here. Now moving on to the performance, which is the most important part on any device in my opinion, as you guys know. Now starting with Netflix, we can only go up to SD quality of 480p, but the biggest issue that I found here, and I did try several times, I did install and uninstall or removed the app and then install it again, but the biggest issue that I found was that the audio was out of sync on any TV series that I was watching or any movie that I was watching. So this is a firmware issue that needs to be fixed. Not sure if it's going to, but the experience was not good at all. So 480p and audio out of sync is what you can expect at this moment from this machine.
And I'm only saying believe to sound modest because Sweet Sam Houston, I did it.
Hope.
So you understand how serious I am.
What I understand is there is no alternative.
Moving on to YouTube, I did try out, as always, the mobile version, which worked great. 1080, smooth playback, no issues whatsoever. Next, I tried the YouTube TV app for Android, which honestly I prefer for this kind of device. 1080 smooth, but as you can see, the bottom bar stays on all the time, which is really annoying. This was the only app that I did try on this machine that kept the bottom bar in place. Netflix and Kodi and so on, the bottom bar disappears, but on a YouTube app for the TV, it stays there, which is really annoying. My next test was the Iptv service from my ISP provider, which worked great. Kodi 17.6 played all the formats that I've got: 4K, 8-bit, 10-bit, H.264 and H.265 codecs, all okay across my network. Play around with Plex, playing Blu-ray, MKV, 1080 files just fine. AirPlay was my next test. I did play around with mobile and desktop, and on the mobile we already know that we will always have some delays, but worked nice, and on the desktop I had a great experience. And then we also tested out Skype, and yes, it did work with my webcam, which is the Logitech C920. Those of you that follow the channel already know this. Both audio and image were just great. And then finally I did test it out in this test right over here, the SIM card, which this is the first machine that comes to my hand in terms of Android TV box that has a SIM card slot. I was curious to see if I could make phone calls, if I could use the data from my carrier, but it doesn't recognize the SIM, so it's useless at this moment. I did try to place the SIM card in every position possible that I could imagine, but the box just refused to accept the SIM card. I don't know. The micro SD card works well. I did try it with a 32 gigabytes SD card and just works awesome. It's really unfortunately that I couldn't test. I don't know why it's here, if it doesn't work or if it's anything that we can activate on a firmware upgrade. I'm not really sure, guys. We will try to find out later on. Now moving on to the gaming experience, I did play around with 3 games: Respawnables, Asphalt 8 and finally Asphalt Extreme. And what I can say is that in terms of Respawnables, the experience was the usual that I find on most boxes, and then on Asphalt 8 the experience was also very pleasant, fast, and in terms of graphics it was good. Finally on Asphalt Extreme I could play really well, as you can see by some images, but guys, take a look at the graphics. The game has some terrible graphics in this machine. This is a game that we actually enjoy to play. It has some really nice graphics either on mobile, tablets and other Android TV boxes, but right over here, even messing around with the graphics, the box seems that it won't just give us the maximum graphics possible. So it's really shitty to see those kind of graphics for such a game. So I would say that we can expect to find some games that it work well, like the Respawnables on Asphalt 8, and we will also find other games, at least this is what experience tells me, that we will find other games that will behave like Asphalt Extreme, and instead of having really beautiful and nice graphics, we will have trashy graphics, which will take the fun out of it. Finally, game streaming, which is always something that I love to do. Guys, as you can see by some images, connecting the box to my network and then to my computer, which has a dedicated GPU, and then we can select 1080 at 60 frames per second, which is what I choose to start all my tests, and I'm happy to say that this box behaved really well. I did play around with gas guzzlers, which I'll try to not forget to link down below so that you guys can check the game. It's cheap and it's a lot of fun, and you can have on your Steam library to have some fun. And what I can say, and you can see by some images, I didn't have any lag whatsoever. I could play on the big screen TV games from my computer, just awesome. So no problems at all. Right over here, it did pass most of my tests. So in conclusion, guys, this is about it. In terms of performance, the box is not bad at all. My only concern has to do with the Netflix, as I showed you guys, and with the design of the box, which I love to see transparent boxes such as this one and the Cadence Vim 2, but the cables coming out of the two sides is just something that personally it annoys me. I'm sure that some of you guys will agree with me, some of you guys won't. This is how it works. At the end of the day will be the choice of everyone looking at this box to purchase it, if it's something that bothers or not. And that is it. Hopefully this video was helpful in some way, and if it was, don't forget the usual thumbs up. My name is Roberto Jorge, and as always, I'll see you guys on the next one.